So 11.9% of the respondents said that he does not have the moral authority to question the goings on in the Ram temple.
Now, when a sort of closure has been achieved, what this theft episode has done and the resultant politics around it after that, with the UP Chief Minister questioning, achieved. When we say about the inconsistency, not the inconsistency, but if you see, there is consistency actually in these two questions, that they are also in the first question. Even the BJP supporters said that Akhilesh has the moral authority, and here even the SP supporters are able to catch hold of the people who have done wrong and is able to make some recoveries. New SOPs are placed, a new professional body is placed, and if the actions of the SIT and the government are able to regain confidence of the people, then this peak emotion of discontent, disbelief, unhappiness could neutralize to some extent. That's the main plank of Yogi Adityanath as Chief Minister. So this issue hurts that image, and that image also he needs to restore. And that can only happen, as you mentioned, if strict action is taken and people have confidence in the new setup, SOP, CEO, etc.
Hello and welcome. You're watching me, Sanket Upadhyay, on The Federal. The show is called AI with Sanket. This is the AI of news because news in India today requires not artificial but analytical intelligence. The Ayodhya Ram temple donation fraud, donation scam has been in the news for over a month now. There is an SIT as well, but there is a lot of chatter around its political fallout. Now, one way of discussing this is guesswork, what will happen, what will not happen. And the other is through the scientific means of a survey. One such survey on its impact on elections has been conducted by Vote Vibe. I have the founder of Vote Vibe with me, Mr. Amitabh Tiwari. Thank you very much for joining us. I just want to ask you the first question. Let's just straight away go into the questions in your survey. The first question that you ask in your survey is whether Akhilesh Yadav was right, or did he have the moral authority to question the donation scam in Ayodhya? So 11.9% of the respondents said that he does not have the moral authority to question the goings on in the Ram temple. A whopping 58.5% say that even if he's the opposition leader, he has the responsibility, even as the opposition leader, he has the responsibility to question. So just because there is a political history, that does not mean that he does not have the right to question what is happening in the Ram temple. 29.6% of the respondents say, well, we can't say. Amitabh Tiwari, how do you look at this figure?
Actually, if we see this question as a context, in the sense that when the Ram Mandir temple was constructed in January 2024, there was a sort of closure which was achieved for both the groups, the Hindus and the Muslims. They respected the Supreme Court decision, and a sort of closure was achieved. In terms of political uh, benefits or electoral benefits to the BJP, this didn't have much role to play for in the Uttar Pradesh Lok Sabha elections itself. Now, when a sort of closure has been achieved, what this theft episode has done and the resultant politics around it after that, with the UP Chief Minister questioning or going back to the 1990s, questioning whether Akhilesh Yadav, whose father was responsible for the firing on the car sevaks, then the memories of Babri demolition, rights, etc., etc. All this have conjured up the memories, you can say, which was the issue was largely settled. Now, in this context, when we ask people that whether Akhilesh Yadav, as the BJP is claiming, has the moral authority to ask questions on the theft, since he had opposed the construction of the temple as per BJP and has not visited the temple since its foundations or opening. So here an overwhelming majority, around 58% people, say that he has the moral authority because a wrong has been committed. And despite the history, that's all past. Since a wrong has been committed and he has raised it, being in the opposition, he is right to raise it. He has a right to raise these questions. And that is largely across regions, across caste groups, across uh, the voting intention, or across the supporters of both the parties. This question or this answer largely resonates that he has the moral authority to ask.
Mr. Tiwari, I am looking at the details right here of party preferences of the respondents of your survey. It's interesting that 48.6% of the BJP's own supporters feel that Akhilesh Yadav has the moral authority or the right to question the goings on in the Ram temple as far as this donation scam is concerned. Obviously, that figure among the Samajwadi Party supporters is 69.8%. But for, let's just assume, if this survey is an indication, 48.6% of the BJP's own support base to think that Akhilesh Yadav is right should be a big cause of worry for the BJP in an election year.
No, essentially, if you see, uh, a wrong has been committed. This is a matter of faith, astha, belief of people, and there is discontent, displeasure, sort of anger after this news came into light that the chadhava or the donations which people have been giving, there has been some sort of embezzlement in that. And also, since Akhilesh was the first to raise it, some supporters of BJP, when we say supporters of BJP, essentially voters of BJP or other voters of UP who have voted for BJP in the past or who vote for the Saffron party and its alliance partners, feel, some of them feel that this issue might not have come to light if he had not raised it as well. Correct. So that is why I think there is a lot of support, even amongst the BJP supporters, uh, for this kind of action, or rather not action, but for this kind of tweet which Akhilesh did, and which led to the formation of the SIT and the police investigation. And that's all for there to see.
Let's now move on to question number 2, because it has to do with the formation of the SIT. We know that politically a lot is being said about the intentions behind the SIT and whether it will be able to conduct a fair probe. The question that was asked was that in this case, are you satisfied and do you trust the SIT and the police investigation being carried out by Yogi Adityanath's police? 43.3% of the respondents say that they completely trust the findings of the SIT. 12.4% say, well, to some extent. 26.4% say that they don't trust this SIT at all. And the people who can't say anything are 17.8. Now, this is interesting because Akhilesh has the moral right to question a wrong, but people trust the SIT which the Yogi Adityanath government has formed in Uttar Pradesh. 43.3% of the respondents say that they completely trust. Now, if I look at the breakup as far as voters are concerned, and by voters I mean people who are supporters of certain political parties, even among the Samajwadi Party supporters, 42.3% of them, according to your survey, feel, SP voters feel, that they trust the Yogi Adityanath government's SIT. Now, what does this mean?
No, essentially, if you see, these two questions are largely linked, but not linked to the electoral politics of sorts. So, when we ask the question whether Akhilesh has the moral authority to raise this question, people are very clear that since a wrong has been committed and the faith of Hindus have been touched, then he has the moral he has the moral authority to ask the question. When we ask the question whether the SIT which has been formed by the UP government and the later police investigation, which is currently undergoing, whether people have trust. I think people are reposing trust because if you see, uh, Yogi Adityanath is considered as the Hindu mascot, correct? He is considered as a strong, aggressive Hindutva leader, and people feel that since this has happened under his nose of sorts, though the people who have been appointed, or the trust is largely consists of appointees from the PMO directly, uh, he will get this wrong right. So that is the trust which, let's say, the Hindus of the Uttar Pradesh, regardless of which party they are supportive of, are currently showing this tendency that they have trust in this SIT, and a logical conclusion will be achieved. When we say about the inconsistency, not the inconsistency, but if you see, there is consistency actually in these two questions, that they are also in the first question, even the BJP supporters said that Akhilesh has the moral authority, and here even the SP supporters say that they have trust, because largely if you see the vote block of Samajwadi Party alliance, that the Samajwadi Party alliance, though it has undergone change with RLD leaving and SBSP leaving, etc., uh, they got around 36% vote share. Around half of that vote base consists of Hindu voters. So, as it's a matter of faith and people want this to be properly investigated, and the people who have done wrong should be punished, I think at this point of time, people are giving or showing their trust in the SIT.
Now let's move on to the most important question, the impact on the UP elections. We all know that it's just a few months left for the big state of Uttar Pradesh, 403 Vidhan Sabha segments going to polls. Will this issue be a big issue in the upcoming Vidhan Sabha elections or the state assembly elections? That was the question that was asked. It was asked in Hindi. क्या ये मुद्दा आगामी चुनाव में आपके मतदान के फैसले को प्रभावित करेगा? Which means that in the upcoming state assembly elections, is this issue going to impact your voting, आपका मतदान, your voting in the upcoming elections? 47.1% of the respondents say to a great extent. Somewhat, 17.3%. Will not impact, 17.7%. We can't say anything, 17.9%. So, Mr. Amitabh Tiwari, 47.1% of the respondents, despite the fact that they feel that they have trust in Yogi's SIT, feel that this issue will impact their vote in the upcoming Uttar Pradesh elections. How do you look at this?
Well, essentially, if you see, there is a lot of concern regarding this theft and embezzlement, and what people feel is that this issue could have an impact on the electoral, on, or rather on the elections of UP 6 to 7 months down the line. See, in terms of emotion, people are currently emotionally charged, so the emotion is at the peak level, correct? And since this embezzlement or theft has happened under the aegis of BJP, which is considered as the protector of the rights of Hindus or Hindutva, and they have taken credit for the construction of the Ram temple as well, I think that leads to more discontent, correct, or more disbelief, more not anger but discontent of sorts. So at this point, when the emotion is at its peak, there's a lot of discussion around this: what has happened, how much has been stolen, who are responsible, whether the SIT will do its work, not do its work, etc. At this point of time, people feel that this could have an impact on the results of, or rather, this could play a role when they go out to vote 6 to 7 months down the line. Now, 6 to 7 months is also a long time, we know, in electoral politics, and whether this will have an impact or not largely depends upon how the SIT, which has been constructed and in which people are reposing faith also on, performs. If the SIT is able to perform well, in the sense that it is able to catch hold of the people who have done wrong and is able to make some recoveries, new SOPs are placed, a new professional body is placed, and if the actions of the SIT and the government are able to regain confidence of the people, then this peak emotion of discontent, disbelief, unhappiness could neutralize to some extent. If it does not happen, then what happens is that then this issue could play a big role in the choice of voters when they go out to vote somewhere in January, February.
Uh, so if I understand this correctly, though your question was not drafted in a way that if elections were to be held today, will it impact? But the answer that people have given are clearly on the basis of their emotion related to this issue as of this moment. And if in the next 3, 4, 5, 6 months, in the build up to the elections, something happens that may impact this number in the future.
Correct. Because what happens is that elections are, see, even UP 2024 elections, though it's a national election, was largely localized. It turned into a local elections of sorts. Uh, the state election is, we know, is a hyper local election compared to a central election. So the state has shown a tendency to, or rather the voters have shown a tendency in the state to vote on local issues even in a national election. Correct. So local issues are going to dominate. Now the question is whether the BJP through its actions or through this SIT is able to punish the offenders and regain confidence of its supporters or not. Because here also, if you see, even amongst BJP supporters, I think a substantial number, 40% plus, are saying that this could play a big role in their voting choices when the elections are held. From Samajwadi Party's perspective of electoral strategy, if you see, if there is, or if the BJP is not able to regain confidence and the SIT botches up the investigation and things do not settle down, then what happens is that the Samajwadi Party gets an issue or a mudda on which already we have seen in question one that people are saying that of course he has a moral right to ask, and then it would club this mudda with other local issues and try to raise the anti-incumbency when it goes into the elections. If this issue is settled in the sense that the SIT punishes offenders and the people regain confidence, and some of the BJP voters then show a tendency to be happy with whatever has happened and then say that they are not, or this issue is not going to impact their electoral choices, then what happens is that the Samajwadi Party then would have to, at that point of time, focus more on the local issues, its social engineering of PDA, etc., which worked in the Lok Sabha election. So for both the parties, it's a wait and watch in terms of strategy, because the emotion around this issue, which is at its peak, whether this peak emotion is sustained or not over the next 6 7 months, and if this dilutes, then the both the parties will be looking at different strategies to woo the voters in the elections in 2027.
Do you feel, Mr. Amitabh Tiwari, that the Yogi government has a lot at stake over here? Because if I look at the breakup of how this is going to impact your voting, and if I look at party supporters, 41.7% of the BJP supporters say it is going to impact us to a great degree. Of course, among the Samajwadi Party supporters, this figure is at 51.8%. If you couple this with the previous question, question number one, whether Akhilesh has a moral right, that goes against Yogi Adityanath. This high figure of BJP supporters, 41.7% of them who feel that this is going to impact their vote, is a cause of worry for the Yogi Adityanath government if they want to repeat their term. It's only the only silver lining, if we read all this data together, is the answer to question number two, where people still have hope. So do you feel that over the next few months, the most important thing that Yogi Adityanath will have to prove, or let's extend this argument to the BJP, what the BJP will have to prove is that its machinery has been able to bring the guilty to book and restore the confidence of the electorate in Uttar Pradesh? so that they can take benefit in the Vidhan Sabha elections?
Yeah. So again, if we compare with the 2024 Lok Sabha elections, that elections became localized despite being a central election. And if you see across states, what generally happens is that there is anti-incumbency against the MLAs, and the BJP has this strategy of neutralizing this by cutting the tickets of 25%, 30, 35% of the MLAs. Now here, BJP would want to run or have a presidential style contest between Yogi Adityanath and Akhilesh Yadav. It would want the election to be around these two phases, and then around the achievements. Of course, the features of Yogi, which is aggressive Hindutva, strong law and order, strong administrator, and the achievements of the government. Now, this strong Hindutva leader image has taken a hit because of this issue, correct? Because people, I mean, you are in you are in power, you are at the top, occupying the top chair, then people will believe that whatever is happening under your nose, you have to take some own responsibility and take actions. And as you mentioned, then here the first task of Yogi would be to, or rather the SIT and the police under his guidance will be to take this investigation to its logical conclusion and regain the confidence of the voters, because that's the main plank of Yogi Adityanath as chief minister. So this issue hurts that image, and that image also he needs to restore, and that can only happen, as you mentioned, if strict action is taken and people have confidence in the new setup, SOP, CEO, etc. So I think yes, over the next 3-4 months, Yogi Adityanath would wish to settle this issue, and then focus on his achievements and his persona versus Akhilesh Yadav, and try to have a presidential style of contest rather than going into a very localized election, because for any incumbent it is difficult to contest a very local or a hyper local election, and that we saw even in the 2024 Lok Sabha election. When people start talking about local issues, when people start comparing candidates, when people start talking about uh, or making comparisons of the current tenor of the government versus the previous tenor of the government, then what happens is that the incumbent chances to come back to power starts getting trickier, correct? If the discussion is largely on leadership and ideology and persona, then what happens is that you have to take care of just that and not the anti-incumbency against the 250 odd MLAs which will be there. So I think yeah, that's how it is likely to play out, and we'll have to wait and watch. The people are also have adopted a wait and watch sort of policy when they say that they have trust in this SIT investigation. So we'll have to wait and see how this pans out.
So, in conclusion, do you feel that this survey indicates that this could be some sort of an advantage Samajwadi Party or advantage Akhilesh Yadav till such time that people have greater confidence and faith in the guilty being punished and quickly, and that faith is restored? Till that time, it's advantage Akhilesh Yadav.
See, in this survey, we have not asked a vote share question, correct? So we have not asked who are you likely to vote for if elections are held today, correct? And that question uh, is a culmination of many things. So voting is an emotional decision. And this issue is an emotional decision also. Uh, but whether this is the only issue which is going to be in the minds of the voters when they go out to vote, or if elections are held today, that is a difficult correlation to make, because there are many other factors which will come into the play. What has also happened is that uh, Akhilesh Yadav, by giving up his Vidhan Sabha seat and taking up the Lok Sabha seat, in a way has also given, at least before this issue, a free field to Yogi Adityanath in the assembly. Because if you recall, before the Lok Sabha elections, on Instagram or social media, there used to be very viral content of the duels which used to take place in the Vidhan Sabha between the CM and Akhilesh Yadav. Now, what happens is that when you move from, or when you have given up the seat, a Mata Prasad Pandey or a Shiv Pal Yadav is not Akhilesh Yadav in that sense, correct? So, for the past 2 years, just before this issue, Yogi Adityanath has not faced significant opposition or challenges within the Vidhan Sabha. Correct. So what has also that has neutralized also the advantage or the momentum which Akhilesh or Samajwadi Party got to some extent, and of course the BJP's victories in other states also at least has added to this perception that some of this advantage is neutralized. So when we really ask the question, then we will be able to say whether or not at this juncture who is ahead in this election. It is difficult to gauge at this moment with just these three questions. Yes, this issue is dominating people's minds, and everybody is largely watching what the SIT is going to do and how it is able to punish the offenders and how BJP is able to neutralize the discontent which has arisen primarily because of this.
All right, Mr. Amitabh Tiwari, thank you so much for your time and for this survey. Let's see what the SIT comes up with and how this entire issue plays out politically. That is the most significant. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you.